In this episode of The Nation Speaks, from comprehensive sexuality education in schools to gender reassignment surgery for kids, how is the new sexual revolution affecting children? Our two guests share some shocking information. Sharon Slater is the president of Family Watch International. She reveals what children are being taught in school.
Many of these programs turn our children into sexual rights advocates. Perfectly Normal, which is in many libraries, school libraries across the United States. It's very graphic with depictions of children engaging in masturbation and various sexual acts.
And Dr. Quentin Van Meter, president of the American College of Pediatricians, shares some of his concerns.
This allows the kids then to bypass their parents. Down to age 13 in California, girls can have their breasts removed.
In America Q&A, do you feel confident we know enough about these new vaccines to push for widespread vaccination?
I don't think we know enough yet.
The vaccine's been out for a long time. By now we would see things.
I'm not confident in it at all.
I think that's our best chance at getting out of this.
I can answer as a layperson or a pulmonologist. I have zero faith in the vaccine.
As California's wildfires ravage the state again, we take a fresh look at the disaster with our guest, Alex Epstein. He's the author of The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels and the founder of the Center for Industrial Progress. He makes a case that humans might not be the problem, but maybe they're the solution.
One thing that we're assuming in today's energy and environmental discussion is that human impact on nature is a bad thing. And that's a philosophical view. And that is a wrong philosophical view if you care about human beings.
In our second America Q&A, what do you think? Should Japan have canceled the Olympics?
It's up to them. It's really their decision. I wouldn't want it.
I don't know if it'll be as much fun for people competing, not having the audience.
No, I mean, these athletes wait their whole life to compete in this.
Finally, a self-described former homosexual who's now a pastor is suing Vimeo video platform for discrimination. Pastor Jim Doman says he's a super minority.
There are thousands upon thousands of us like that, people who are former LGBTQ. And we're a people group that if people think the LGBTQ group is discriminated against, we're a subgroup of that group.
And his lead attorney, Robert Tyler, is making this a Section 230 challenge he hopes will go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Just because they're on the internet, they have the right to discriminate in California, New York, or anywhere in between? That can't be the case.
Today on The Nation Speaks, from comprehensive sexuality education in schools to gender reassignment surgery for kids, how is the new sexual revolution affecting children? Our two guests share some shocking information. In America Q&A, do you feel confident we know enough about these new vaccines to push for widespread vaccination? And as California's wildfires ravage the state yet again, we take a fresh look at the disaster and ask, are humans the problem or maybe the solution? In our second America Q&A, what do you think? Should Japan have just canceled the Olympics altogether? Finally, a self-described former homosexual who is now a pastor is suing Vimeo video platform for discrimination. It's a Section 230 challenge they hope to take all the way to the Supreme Court. Hello and welcome to The Nation Speaks. I'm your host, Cindy Drucare. Long gone are the days when sex education was an awkward biology class. But even then, it was controversial since the topic is unavoidably wedded to morality. For example, how are discussions framed about who the partner is? Is pregnancy for starting a family or a horrible mistake? Is high school sexual activity expected or a concern? And should the state be involved at all? Today, those questions aren't even relevant to ask. The classroom conversation and the moral messaging behind it has totally changed. Children are taught that they have sexual rights to things like pleasure, birth control, abortion, puberty blockers, even gender reassignment surgery. If any of this is new to you, pay close attention to our first two guests. They see firsthand how this new gender and sexuality revolution is impacting the children. We're joined now by Dr. Quentin Van Meter. He's the president of the American College of Pediatricians, and Sharon Slater, president of the Family Watch International. Welcome to you both.
Thank you for having us.
Sharon, let me start with you. Could you just start off by telling us what is actually being taught in schools today, specifically what is meant by this comprehensive sexuality education?
Well, the American College of Pediatricians we have a quote on our website from them that says that comprehensive sexuality education goes way beyond normal sex education, and it's a dangerous assault on the health and innocence of children. We've created an analysis tool that shows that there's 15 common harmful elements in comprehensive sexuality education programs, including they work to sexualize children, to get rid of their disinhibitions with regard to sex. They promote abortion and sexual rights, and many of these programs turn our children into sexual rights advocates.
And could you give us some examples? I think we brought some with us today. We could play that tape, and can you just talk us through some of the things they're actually teaching?
Sure. Let's start with the publication It's Perfectly Normal, which is in many libraries, school libraries across the United States. It's very graphic with depictions of children engaging in masturbation and various sexual acts. Now, we've blurred out the graphic images, but this is not blurred out for the children when they see different couples, heterosexuals and homosexuals engaging in sex. And there's been 1 million copies in print, and this is for age 10 and up. Then there's Making a Difference. This is a federally funded program. It's in my state and many of your states. And it teaches children that they can share their sexual feelings through such things as oral sex, masturbation, grinding, anal sex, holding hands, touching each other's genitals, and saying, I like you. And that's for age 12 through 14. Then there's Get Real, which one has this controversial vocabulary list where children can learn such things as pansexual, queer, and heteronormative. Then there's Planned Parenthood's LGBT education, which incorporates queer and trans issues in everything. And here they want children to label themselves like a disabled non-binary person, or an asexual gay teen, or a trans boy of color, or how about an undocumented queer boy. And here's a quote from this publication. I'm a polyamorous queer teen who needs to know how to have safe sex and relationships with multiple partners. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have hundreds of examples like this, or many, many programs like this that are being implemented all across the U.S.
Wow, there's some really shocking things in there. We can't even show them on TV, but kids are being shown them in the classroom. Dr. Van Meter, that kind of brings me to you. We're just talking about, the gender revolution. Oh, we just lost him for a moment. Can you still hear us, Doc? Oh, there, you're back. Good. Transgender and changing your gender reassignment surgery, all these things. We're hearing a lot about these lately, which we definitely didn't hear about in the past. What are you seeing in your practice and for pediatricians across the country?
Well, it seems that since mid-2000s, particularly about 2006 and beyond, we went from hearing about the idea that children could be transgender, not adults, but children. A clinic set up in Boston as a single entity. And subsequently, we are now up to over 65 transgender clinics across the nation. We also have Planned Parenthood providing medical transition treatments for males and females who are transgender, and an online presence called Plume, which is an open-ended online ability to be interviewed by physicians and medically and possibly recommended for surgical transition, if you will. So it's gone from a very rare, almost unheard of circumstance to something that is in one particular county in the Pittsburgh metropolitan area, in one school district. They're claiming that about 10% of their childhood class people are transgender, and that's a multi-thousand-fold increase in the amount of these kids presenting. So there's a social contagion phenomenon, which I think explains most of this.
And how young are we talking about here? Especially the ones that are looking for medical intervention.
The medical intervention sort of switched, if you will, to sort of mid to late teens in the recent decade. There is a phenomenon called rapid onset gender dysphoria, which describes primarily teenage girls, a ratio of girls to boys now of 7-to-1, whereas before all this began worldwide in the adult population, the ratio of transgender adults were two times male to 1 time female. So it's a flip and a rapid increase in the number of patients presenting.
Be sure to watch the entire episode, now available exclusively at epochtv.com, a completely censorship-free premium subscription platform. Brought to you by the Epoch Times. See you there.